Knight e2, knight h5, what else? Queen d2, now knight g3 met by knight f4, and a5. That's the key idea. I didn't like bishop e7, and again the position can be reached from different move order, and after knight g3, knight f4, maybe h4, which was played in many top games by strong players. H4, h6, take on f4, knight h5, Mick Adams won nice games, but I think that after bishop b3, b3, black shouldn't play g6 and reach position where white has pretty strong initiative. But king f8, rather king f8, might give black some decent counter chances. But the old game, I don't know if it's forgotten, but it looked pretty convincing for me. Bishop f4, immediately take knight h5, castle h4, played by Tivakov, gave white a clear upper hand. But my intention was to play a5. So now knight g3, then take on g3, a4. Also, I would recommend you to look at the very rare move bishop e7, f4, g6, which leads to very complicated positions, and I even don't know that's its evaluation. But black keeps a4 as a threat, because if white castles and after a4, knight has the only square on a1. So that's why sometimes you'd better not to execute a threat, but to keep it hanging. So bishop e7 is to be considered as an option for those who are happy to analyze with computers such complicated positions. But my plan was to play a4, knight c1, queen a5, and it looks pretty good for black, because now we can actually push d5, and that's what happens after knight d3. Irony is that the first one who played this line with black was Shirov himself, who probably recognized after facing this idea against Swidler what was the concept behind knight e2, and he played this game with Morovich, Barcelona 2000. Morovich played bishop h3, and it led to complications, but black had a very decent game. I don't think that white should seriously consider bishop h3, so I don't think it was really played in top games afterwards. So knight d3 is very natural, but also white played often f4, g6, knight d3. Here is the position that, again, I recommend you to analyze. It's interesting, it's exciting. I thought that black had some difficulties, but could have held, but it's just a brand new theory. So I think that with limited space even on the CD, and with limited amount of time, I would just recommend you to look at this. You will not be sorry if you spend time analyzing this position. In the games where f4 was met, often black took on f4, g takes f4, played d5, but I think it's not the best option. So just let's even mark it. So my recommendation will be g6. But knight d3, most natural move, d5, ed5, and now after bishop d5, bishop h3, suddenly white created a very strong initiative, because black is already behind in development, and it should be very cautious with its king. I analyzed the position. I saw that after bishop c6, black still can hold. It's not clear, but after considering all options, I decided to play queen takes d5. That's what happened when I played Vishanan. That's a game we analyze now in Linares 2002, bishop g2, queen b5. So black is losing a bit of time by moving his queen, but at the same time we can see that it's not without a purpose, because castling long for white is not as comfortable as normally in these lines, because these pawns on a4 and b4 are waiting, and it looks even more dangerous than when white pawns are on g5, h5, waiting for a black king to castle on short side. The problem with it that black is behind in development, and now white can comfortably cancel on the king side and create pressure in the center, opening it with f4, because black will have to still finish his development. But it's all not as simple as it looks, because after f4, black has two decent moves. One is rook c8, castle g6, that was played by Hrachik, but also rook d8. And I think that in both instances, black had nothing much to worry about. The real problem is rook h4, and that's what I really worried when I played this game. We looked at this position with Yuri, and we found some plans for black, but I was impatiently waiting for Anand's response, because after rook h4, rook b8, f4, I think white has a better position. It's not that the fight is over. There's plenty of options for black, but I would strongly recommend rook h4 here. Anand played bishop h3. So here bishop h3, hoping just to ease pressure on the queen side, where his king is going to move next in the nearest future. Also to eliminate a very strong defensive piece, bishop on e6, hoping that it could create either threats in the center or threats on the h file, where technically black king could be evacuated on this king side, and then black has to do something with the pawn on h7. But it didn't work as comfortably as white planned, because after bishop h3, exchange on h3, rook h3, bishop e7, rook h4, now f5. That was a pretty good move. It just improves black's position in the center. It just creates two very aggressive pawns that can move. Now if queen h2, then h6, gh6, g6, and white ends up with nothing on the king side. gf6, knight f6, knight b4, both a3 or e4 possible, and black has sufficient compensation. So it's very dynamic initiative game. Vishy wanted to avoid it by castling, but then b3, and then a3, this natural move to be criticized. King b1 was much better, and the position would be very, very unclear. After a3, I play rook c8, which is probably also leads to a slightly better position for black, but now I would say that b takes c2, queen c2, and knight b6, using this momentum that bishop takes b6 is met by bishop g5, then black creates an immediate initiative. After king b1, then rook c8, and then knight can go on c4, and it's not very very pleasant for white. Rook c8, c3, and now if castle, then knight b4, and that would be the triumph for white's idea. But knight f8 was a very precise response. Rook h2, knight g6, and here probably bishop c5 was the best chance for white. It's still a little bit better for black. That's a position that can be reached, but it's probably a draw. While after knight g6, knight b4, rook d8, knight d5, king f7, I think that black is clearly better, and also Vishy saved the game. It's probably due to my inaccuracy. So I think that's knight e2, knight h5 position. It's still complicated, but not the final word yet spoken, either by white or black sides. I wish to see more games. Follow this line, both by 14 a4 or a new one, relatively new bishop e7, or the moves with 16 f4, g6, knight d3. But the conclusion is that black is not here without very serious counter chances. So let's remember that this position happens if white try to push g4 immediately. And now, more and more often, white plays, as we remember, white plays queen d2. And then this line is no longer possible, because after b5, white simply goes castle, a long castle. So if this idea works or might work after g4, b5, g5, b4. So black always thought how they can reach similar position, pushing knight from c3 if white begins with queen d2, avoiding g4, d5. And here we reach a different type of positions. And now let's move to those positions where the line b5, b4 is employed after moves queen d2 and bishop e7 included.